Liverpool 1, Brighton 0. It's David here on the Anfield Agenda, joined by Charlie and Chris. Solid win, lads. A bit nervy at times, but a solid win. Charlie, I'll come to you first, mate. What did you make of the starting 11 and also the 18-man squad?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I didn't actually expect him to go with the exact same team. I thought he might have brought Fabinho in
Yeah.
first team, but I think with Fabinho, I think he's most likely going to wait until after. But with the main 11, I was expecting the whole defense, the whole attack. I mean, I think probably going to be expecting that the whole of the season. But the midfield, I felt like Milner and Keita both needed resting, not because they're incapable of playing it. I don't know. It just felt like the whole time, like this past two games, them two have been our key men. Milner, they've been everywhere, and it's been Genie, but Genie sort of took over that role today. But yeah, I mean, listen, our squad now is crazy. The whole squad, like you look on our bench, and we can bring on like Shaqiri, Lallana in midfield, not on the wing, Sturridge up front. I mean, it's not City's bench what they had today, but it's a pretty solid bench. So, I mean, look, things are really only looking up for me, aren't they? I mean, everyone seems to be happy, even the players on the bench. I mean, Sturridge just come on and he didn't make that big of an impact. We didn't really have that much time. Henderson come on, he solided it up a bit, even though then we went through a bit of a rough patch when he come on, but he calmed things down in the end. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'll follow Klopp whatever starting 11 he wants to go for the whole season.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I was kind of thinking along the same lines, but Chris, even looking at the 18-man squad, Charlie brought us some good points, but even look at the lads that weren't even in the 18. There is real squad depth there with the Reds.
There is real squad depth, and I think pretty much every player in the squad, based on what the performances were like last season, or based on the reputation before they came to the club, or based on performances in pre-season, every single player would expect to be in the squad or even starting for most of them. So anybody who's not in the squad or starting can be, disappointed with that fact, but then really can't argue with Klopp picking the same side. I didn't expect any changes. I don't see any need for anybody being rested. We've got like a week between games up until the international break, and it's after that European football kicks in, which is when I think we will start seeing some rotation and some changes. But I think up to then, I think Klopp's doing it right, keeping a little continuity in there just to ensure that we get through games more smoothly, win games. We're on 9 points from 3 games. We've kept 3 clean sheets. We've scored 7 goals. That's about as good a start as we could have really hoped for this season. So I think the choices Klopp's made so far are fully vindicated in that. You got to bear in mind, as last season we had 2 extra games, didn't we, with the European qualifiers slammed in the middle of these things. We haven't this time around, so there's not really any tired legs. And Charlie just pointed it out there, the main guys this season, I would say the hardest working players in the side this season so far have been the middle 3. And I would also add in the fullbacks with that, who just do not stop running for 90 plus minutes. They're unbelievable. And they're capable of doing that with a week gap in between games. So I don't think there's any need to rest them. If they start tiring a bit during the game, yeah, I can understand the substitution. We saw in the previous game that Bobby got a bit leggy towards the end of the game and got cramp, had to come off. He came off again before the end of the game today, and that's understandable. But in order to gain that match fitness for a player like Bobby, he needs to play the games. He needs to play near enough a full match every week, and then he's going to be fit and firing. And I think we're going to go into the Leicester game confident on the back of another hard-fought win. And it's purely vindicated, completely purely vindicated, not changing the lineup. Whether you could make an argument for somebody coming off the subs bench from the previous game who wasn't, who maybe got on the pitch and then being replaced with maybe Fabinho or not. There's an argument there, I suppose, but it doesn't need to happen. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with the lineup. It's exactly what I expected.
Yeah, you made a good point regarding the fullbacks. I thought Andy Robertson he was a different player compared to Crystal Palace. I thought he was absolutely fantastic this evening. Didn't stop running. Was getting into really good positions and putting in some really, really good balls.
He was, and I think in the previous couple of games, he's had a really good Sadio Mane to bounce off, and Keita's joined in and marshalled that left quite well, that left side with Mane and Robbo, but Robbo had to pretty much do that on his own today. I think Keita was neat and tidy, but nothing more. Mane was completely off his game, wasn't he? He's a loud one. They all are.
Yeah.
And, he's got to score more goals and get more assists and be more important in game, and have a lot more better games than he'll have today, guaranteed. So, we'll give him that one. He's been brilliant in the first 2 games, but it just shows you how good Robbo is as well, that he's managed to still stand out in a game and have an impact in a game down the left when the players around him in his immediate vicinity are not particularly playing too well.
Yeah.
And it was good to see Trent get his delivery back today as well. He looked a full Trent Alexander-Arnold today, didn't he? So defensively he's been brilliant in the first 2 games, but today he got all aspects of the game spot on today. And they tried to bully them, didn't they? And also Gomez, they targeted Gomez, and that's obviously just give him a mention here as well, because he started the season well, and again, fully earned his place in the side today, since we're talking about lineups, and they tried to bully him today, a bit like Palace did last week, and he's having none of it.
I thought Gomez was absolutely superb tonight. Absolutely brilliant, or this evening, should I say? Sorry. There was a few occasions where, as you said, they tried to muscle him off the ball and he wasn't having it. But I thought he was just so cool as well in his distribution.
Probably outperformed Van Dijk.
I agree.
For the first time. Yeah, I mean, Van Dijk, again, a bit like Keita, didn't really do anything wrong, didn't particularly do anything amazing. Just kind of plodded through the game a bit. Whereas I think Gomez, because they targeted him, they had one player, they had Murray constantly on him. That was a man-for-man battle, and then a player trying to run off him, which either he covered himself or Trent was always about making that run across. And that was brilliant. 2 very young, inexperienced players being targeted and having a brilliant game. Again, superb.
Charlie, coming back to you, who was your man of the match?
Oh, geez. I'd probably say Robertson. Yeah, Robertson or Gomez, one of them two. I think it was hard because I don't think there was a standout player. I think everybody worked together extremely well. I think it's probably going to be Trent, Gomez, or Robertson for me. I'd probably go more to Robertson just because how hard, and obviously as Steve did say, how much he carried the left-hand side. He pretty much did it on his own because Mane was a bit not there. And Keita he wasn't what he's been the past 2 games. He was misplacing a few passes. He was, caught out of positions a few times. And Robertson was just up and down. And some of the deliveries that he was putting through, I mean, the one for the Firmino header in the 9th minute, where Matt Ryan somehow saved it. That if that went in, that probably would have been like assist of the week. The hole the gap that he got it in was so small. I mean, he's I don't know. I think Robertson is by far the best left back in the league. I actually had this discussion with somebody, a Manchester City fan, and he actually agreed with me because he said that Mendy gets caught up the pitch too often. But Robertson is all round so consistent everywhere. So I think if I had to give one, it would be Robertson.
And you, Chris, who was your man of the match?
Similar to Charlie there, it was a toss-up between Robertson, Gomez, but I was also going to throw Milner in there again. He was involved defensively a lot. He was involved in, he marshaled the middle of the park for most of the game quite well. When even when, like I say, Keita was quite quiet, so Gini was playing the 6, so it was up to Milner to sort of bridge the gap between midfield and the forwards, which he did quite well. And very often found himself again in the final third, both from the left and the right, running beyond, getting balls into the box. Clever little fouls again. I keep mentioning this whenever he plays well. He makes these clever little fouls. He did that a few times when needed. Trent did one as well. Actually got a yellow card for it, but it was a well-earned yellow card, that was. But Milner, yeah, it's his fight as well. When teams are trying to bully us a bit, because teams will. If they're sitting in, we're still breaking them down, so then they have to resort to getting physical. And some teams just are naturally going to be stronger. They're going to have bigger, stronger players, not necessarily as good at football, so they'll try and win the physical battle. And again, Milner just won't let that happen, a bit like Gomez as well. But Milner's all over the pitch. If he sees Mane getting a bit of a stick off a player, he goes over and sorts that player out. You can see it happening, and it's fun. He's playing a real captain's role whilst Henderson's not on the pitch, and he's doing it really well. And so I think he just about wins it, just about. But it's Gomez and Robbo, really good shouts.
I'm surprised none of you said Gini. I had him down. Well, it's not that I'm not surprised. Sorry, maybe I was watching a different game, but I had Gini down as my man of the match. I just thought again today, he just done everything all over the pitch. He was that real link between, the defence and the attack. And, I mentioned to Charlie just before we came on, in the first half, he had 46 passes and he completed 46 of them. And I think Charlie then said, I think in the whole game, he had 76 passes and completed 75. For someone in a midfield 3, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. Really do.
It is. Similar stats in the previous 2 games as well. He's been very. One thing I've noticed with him as well, something which has improved. You saw it last season, but I suppose you saw it more towards the end of last season, and he's brought it into this season, is how physically strong he is on the ball. He doesn't get flustered when players are in close proximity, and then when they make contact with him to try and shunt him off the ball, he's so strong on it, shields it well, and always finds his man. He always seems to get the ball away to a red shirt. And yeah, you did see that a lot today. So that's a really good shout with Gini as well. He did play really well today as well. But I think the reason I went for Milner, it was just the more, doing the kind of things that we've always seen like Carragher do or Gerrard do. So like when the team isn't particularly playing well, you need a player to sort of stand up and be counted, physically, vocally, and lead by example. And I think that's where he did that. But Gini did have a very good game.
It's the first time since the 13-14 season where we've won the first 3 games, and we've never actually won 4 in the Premier League. I think the last time we won 4 or more in the league was 1991. Looking at the fixtures that we have coming up, and I suppose with the international break in the middle, how long, Charlie, do you think this run can realistically last?
I'm going to be really optimistic and say we're going to beat Tottenham. I think it's going to be Tottenham. I think we're going to destroy Leicester. They don't have body, so there's our kryptonite gone. I said before after the first game, I said I don't think we'll drop points this whole year.
Wow.
I fully think that we're going to destroy City like we did last time. They're probably one of the teams I'm most confident about, especially with the fact now that we actually have a defence that is there. I mean, last time we played City, Robertson pocketed Sterling and nothing else happened. They scored 2 meaningless goals. But, I don't know. I want to be really, really optimistic and say we won't until the new year.
I hope you're right. Christ.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And Chris, same question for you, I suppose. Look, we're 3 games in, and as I said, look, it's a long time since we won 4 at the very, very beginning of the season. Where do you realistically see? How long do you realistically see this run going on for?
Well, as a winning run, I can definitely see it extending into the international break. So I do see us beating Leicester. They've been weakened in the transfer market this season. and they've been further weakened for the next run of games, including the one against us, by losing Vardy, who is a bit of a thorn in our side, isn't he? So
Yeah.
I see us going there picking up 3 points. I do. After that, we've got Spurs, haven't we?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to go and talk about every single game, but if I just look at that one anyway, and not go any further than that one, because, really, we can go unbeaten for a while, but as a winning run, we've got to expect to drop some points at some point, and it's most likely going to be away to one of the other big, top six, should I say, but definitely looking at perhaps Man City, Spurs, and Chelsea look like they could be quite good at home this season. So I won't go through them all, but moving on to that Spurs one, I don't think we have quite as many sort of key players going off to internationals as Spurs do. And Spurs operate with an unchanged lineup as well, don't they? Just like us. And they've come into the season, they're playing okay, but they don't seem to have like a similar kind of energy to like what we've got. So I'm kind of hoping going into that game that they might be a little bit tired. What I would say though is going into games against any of the top six, they come at us, don't they? Apart from Manchester United, they come at us and it kind of suits us. So I'm hoping for a win there. But definitely, if you win your first four, it's a good start to the season, and hopefully we can do it with another clean sheet and go into that international break knowing we're top of the table in good form, and then hopefully come off that international break bouncing. So yeah, just looking at the Leicester game there, I definitely see a win there. I've not seen anything in the previous 3 games that has me worried about playing teams like Leicester. I don't see much that concerns me about, that going into any game against any opposition at the moment. We seem to have tools for every job now. Last season you could argue that we couldn't break down a team that approached a game like Brighton did today, but we did. And, yes, we weren't great. We were perhaps at 70%, but there wouldn't have been any arguments had we been out of sight by the hour mark anyway.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree with you there. Even first 15 minutes, we had, 2 proper, really clear chances for me as well. I think it was the 10th, 11th minute. I think it was a handball.
Definite penalty, that one.
Yeah. And we hit the bar. So as you said, realistically, I don't think it would have been anything but fair if we were 3-0 up in the first 15 minutes, but we weren't. And that's kind of a good thing as well, I think, because sometimes not going up like that, do you know what I mean? We still kept our cool, still kept our composure, still kept kind of the tactical plan that you could see throughout the game. And then 22nd minute, Mo Salah scored. But, unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalise on the 1-0. But Liverpool 2 years ago might have drawn that game.
Quite possibly. We've seen teams sit in, dig deep, frustrate us, and even if we're 1-0 up, 2-0 up, or even 3-0 up in some games, they come out last sort of 10, 15 minutes and go shit or bust against us, and we fall apart. And that's not what we're seeing. Palace tried it last week. We rode out a little bit of a storm. Didn't really give too much away in terms of like clear-cut chances. And I know BT have trying to portray that they had 2 clear-cut chances. They didn't. Knockhart's chance was snatched at. It was well covered anyway. And the header, it was a good chance. It was a good chance, but we saved it. So really, we've reduced them to 1 chance. But after that, we could have gone on and scored. We had a few good moments, just like we did against Palace. So we're not only coming up against sort of a repetition in terms of the approach to games, we're riding that out and then also going on to then sort of have our moment after that and get another goal, or at least come close to getting another goal. So 1-0 perhaps may seem fair on the basis that we didn't play particularly well. They played quite okay, but I think in terms of the number of chances, we perhaps should have won that game a bit more, by more really in terms of chances. And they had a few moments where they were quite lucky with decisions, and luckily, that hasn't come back to bite us. I thought the referee was quite poor in the game.
Absolutely.
And it's, and it's not, we're going to have games though, aren't we? We're going to have a game somewhere down the line where even when we play well and we're on form and, we're a lot better than we were today, that we're going to get frustrated because things aren't quite falling for us, and maybe a referee sends somebody off for next to nothing, or awards a penalty for next to nothing. And it's, so there are other tests that we failed at last season, because obviously we lost Mane to Man City, and then we capitulated. We had a bad decision go against us, like a penalty given against us or something, and then all of a sudden, our heads go, we start feeling sorry for ourselves. So, we're coming up against, we're overcoming tests that we've failed at in the past, and that's why we're 3 games into the season on 9 points. But there are going to be other things that we're going to come up against, and I just hope we deal with them just as well.
I think we have the confidence to do so. I really do. Again, I'm just going back, and it's a very simple thing. It's just the squad depth. It's I can't remember a squad like this for a hell of a long time in Liverpool Football Club, with the players not even getting on to the 18. I know Lovren is injured, but you look at Nathaniel Klein, he wasn't in the 18 today. And, who else wasn't in the 18 that was really sticking out? Fabinho, of course.
Yeah.
Now, what we're led to believe is with Fabinho is that he's not up to, I wouldn't say match fitness, he's not up to Klopp fitness or Klopp style yet. Same with Oxlade-Chamberlain and Robertson when he came in. But Charlie, I'm probably asking the wrong person here, but to give you my one, the question would be like, in your opinion this season, what could be a stumbling block for the Reds? Like for me, it would be maybe looking at the Champions League games and our games after that. And I'm pretty sure every single game after we go away in the Champions League, but every single game in the Champions League group stage, we play away afterwards then. Charlie, you there? Charlie, we're going to have to cut you out, mate. Chris, I'm just going to ask you the exact same question.
Yeah, no worries.
So as I said, look, realistically, we'll go again and look, 3, 2, 1. And with that, Chris, I suppose, realistically, what do you think our stumbling block could be? Like, for an example, I think our stumbling block could be every single group game we play within the Champions League, if I'm right with the dates, every single game after that is an away game. So for me, I think that could be, something we could look at. Hopefully we're not getting the likes, we're not traveling to Moscow and then all the way back and, really far from places. But as I said, what do you think our stumbling block could be this season?
I don't worry too. I think we fare better away from home than we do at home in terms of, the way teams approach us is different than when they come to Anfield, sit in and get physical. We tend, so I don't think it matters too much. I think Klopp's got the players and the squad there to deal with that. Bear in mind, if we're playing away from home after a European match, then I think that means we're playing at home before, so maybe that's a positive. I don't know. The only stumbling blocks really are just what I've mentioned, things that have affected the team mentally in games in the past. So we look at the Spurs 2-2 draw, the draw with Everton, the big losses to Spurs and Man City last season, where things happen in a game where we've seen times many over the last couple of years can sort of knock us off our stride. And you get a lot of pundits, they say that it's teams sitting deep with a low block and frustrating us that causes us problems. It's not. You don't finish in the top 4. Didn't that happen to us in Europe and we scored a hatful?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Teams approach us like that all the time. And if we struggled with that every single time we come up against it, we'd be mid-table, and we're not. So it's things that happen in those games that cause frustration, and it's when that frustration gets to the players that I see us having a problem with, and we haven't really had that situation yet in games. So I think first time we see that, we know whether this team or this squad is learning or has learned, and maybe that's when we start seeing a few more changes to the starting lineup as well, because if a player does get affected during a game, there's ample players who are good enough to come in and take the place, whereas we haven't had that before either. So, but today, to be honest with you, there were a few situations in today's game where we went a bit ragged because, just from things that we've seen in the past. So, a player going through the back of somebody's shouting for a free kick, they don't get it, turn the back. You just see it, just little things like that. And we know that our system kind of works on all of the players being on the same page all of the time. One player moves, triggers another player's movement, triggers another player's movement. And when that doesn't happen, we go a bit ragged. And we saw it just in small spells of like 30 seconds to 2 minutes at times in today's game, where better teams will probably punish you more than Brighton would. So I think, we need. I think that's where our stumbling block will be, rather than sort of specific fixtures or where they're played and at what times. Because I honestly thought today's game, perfect time for a kickoff. Saturday, 5:30 at home. Everybody's got a chance to do whatever their pre-game rituals are that gets them up for the game, get an atmosphere going, and it was dead for most of the game.
It was
the Brighton fans singing, "You only sing when you're winning," and they were quite right, to be honest, because we did. That's the only time we broke into song, and I thought that was a shame, really, given the fact that today's game gives us one of our best starts to a Premier League season, puts us top of the table in a season where we want to go top of the table and stay there because we're good enough to win the league this season. I just thought there was a lot there to get excited about, and I just thought it was a bit flat. That was a shame. And obviously, it's normally the afternoon kickoffs where we're a bit flat, isn't it? The fans and the team. Yeah. I thought that was a bit strange tonight. So, but I don't envisage that being a problem going forward. Normally, we're good at it, especially under the lights. So, obviously, as we go into autumn, any of these kickoff times, I think they'll work for us.
Looking at Leicester away now in our next game, and I suppose, look, it is the one before the international break. We've seen Naby come off, I wouldn't say, pretty early in the second half. Do you think there'll be a change in the midfield there against Leicester, or do you think, again, for the fourth consecutive league game, he's going to go for the exact same 11?
I think it'll be the same starting 11. Whether we see any changes today, I know you asked me at the beginning of this, I thought there may have been a chance that Bobby would have had a rest because obviously he cramped up at the end of the previous game, but clearly Klopp wants him to get up to match fitness. We've got a little gap here now before the next game. Perfect amount of time to, recover from this game, do a bit of training, get up for the next game, and just same again. As we've done in the last three, and specifically today, is what this pod's about. So I don't really see any change. I don't see any changes, not to the starting 11 anyway, unless something happens in training. But I can't see any point in changes. I don't see anything that Leicester have got where I'm thinking maybe Trent's not right for that game, or maybe Milner's not right for that game. Every single one of them players on the pitch has earned the right to start the next game. And yes, collectively we weren't great today, but collectively we've just won 1-0 and gone top of the league. So I don't see any point. Just stick to what's working. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So as the adage goes. So yeah, I don't see a problem.
I agree with you. I'm tending to agree with you on that as well. Maybe Henderson comes in. I'm not sure, but I think, look, with the 3 games that we haven't conceded a goal, which is absolutely fantastic. I think it would be unfair on the 11 that started the 3 games to, I don't want to use the word drop, but rest one of them, because we do have an international break coming up. But the games aren't coming in thick and fast yet. We haven't started the Champions League, which is not happening for another 2.5 weeks now. And I think that's then when we'll see the changes, or maybe the kind of the rotation, if you want it. But look, we'll leave it at that, mate. It's the first time since the 13-14 season we've won 3 in a bounce. We haven't won 4 in a row since 1991. So Jurgen Klopp could and hopefully will become the first manager since King Kenny to win his first 4 league games in a season. And with that, look, 1-0 to the Reds. And have a great night. Thank you for listening. Cheers, Chris.